Okay. It's not like we need an official start. Like, we are live. We already started, basically. All right. So, what's going on for you? What's going on for me? Should I start?
Go ahead, yeah.
Before we get into the preaching and teaching, why don't we get into personal transformation? What's going on for us? Um,
Sure.
so, for me, I had this massive back injury like 10 months ago. I had trained Brazilian Jiu Jitsu for 5.5 years and all around the world super intensely, took my body to the limits, and then uh, stopped for 3 years while I was trying to recover my mind that I lost through mercury poisoning. But then I started coming back to training Jiu Jitsu a little bit and doing more activity, and I started skateboarding. And in November, December of last year, I was on a skateboard. I landed this ollie and felt like a little pop. And the next day, more pain. The day after that, more pain. And the day after that, I couldn't even walk. Went through like a 10-month rehab, started being able to jog again and stretch and do yoga, but I still couldn't even sit. I still couldn't sit in a chair. So then all of a sudden, 6 days ago, I was switched to this new physical therapist. He had me doing all kinds of crazy things that I wasn't ready for. And I woke up the next morning and I couldn't walk. I literally couldn't walk for 4 days. I was stuck in this bed over there.
Oh.
um, it's in that room
I mean, it
actually.
looks good. It looks good over there.
It's
So
nice, yeah.
could have been stuck in worse
It could have been
places.
stuck in
No.
a much worse place, yeah. Um, and and I was fucking going crazy. Like, we don't realize how much of our pain is masked through activity, like just walking to the store, talking to, having interactions with friends, or just leaving the house, and I was just stuck in my home, in my bed, like had to have people bring me groceries and just going insane, like all of the pain that's underneath it, just coming to the surface. Every wound, every anxiety, every neuroses just coming to the
Sure.
surface. So anyway, I just started being able to walk again, and I'm standing right now, so that's cool.
Look at
Um,
you, standing
yeah,
tall,
yeah,
better than ever.
yeah. So that's what's real for me. It's been a long journey and a huge setback, and I feel grateful. I never give my body any thanks. Like, I never thank my spine, thank my discs. Like, these jelly discs that we have that nobody pays any attention to until they're broken. I never even thanked my disc for the first 28 years of my life. And then I realized, like, wow, this is something that is like essential for happiness in my life. Like, these discs functioning is crucial, that I can walk and I can jump and I can absorb shock of gravity. And anyway, it's bringing me into a whole new level of gratitude and bringing me into a whole new level of working on my core, like my abs and my back muscles. And like, I never really worked on that stuff. I was a world class fighter, but I never did any strength conditioning. And now I'm just doing the core, push-ups, pull-ups, and like planks, and strengthening that inner core, which I imagine is going to translate to emotional and spiritual strength too, not just physical. So
Oh,
anyway,
definitely. Well,
yeah.
I'm sorry. That sucks. I'm sorry that was happening.
Yeah.
But things like that happen for a reason, and it does teach us when we have physical suffering. It teaches us, or when we go through something difficult, to be grateful when it comes time that those things go away or that we heal. And I think there's so many processes in the human body all the time. Our brain functioning, the way our organs work, the way our skeletal structure works, everything happens automatically, and so we do take it for granted. And people will often complain about everything that isn't working right in their body. And what they don't realize is just the ability to have a conversation with us, with someone, needs like thousands of processes to happen that you don't even aren't even aware of. There's autonomic, like natural things that happen. You're breathing, you're sleeping, you're blinking, your body is just this amazing machine. So it definitely reminds you of that. And
Hmm.
so basically, where am I at? I'm
Yeah.
actually starting to get good after and it's weird because I rarely talk about my personal stuff
Yeah.
just
I'm
randomly,
bringing it out of you. I'm bringing it
Yeah,
out.
it's
You're
like it is a
welcome
bit
to all
weird
your
to,
fans. Yeah.
it's like publicly lamenting about my problems. I like it. Free therapy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess this was a really hard year for me. Things are starting to get better now. It seemed like it was a culmination of just a lot of things back to back to back that are slowly dissipating and falling back into place. But talking about physical pain and stuff, I went through like this really weird phase where I was having one weird physical problem after another, and it ended up resulting in like a splinter in my thumb, like in the matrix of my nail, and I had to get like the tip of my thumb removed, and it was like really crazy. So I had like a crazy year of that. I had a lot of like public attack with my business. I was super busy and stressed with moving and work, and things are actually falling into place now. So I'm actually really excited about where things are going. I finally moved somewhere where I'm going to be staying a little bit more concretely for the next little while. So I'm like part of the time in Montreal, part of the time in Toronto, back in my home Canada for a bit. And I'm back to focusing on more content creation and writing new ebooks and getting back to actually producing content, which I was actually too busy to do very often for the last year. And that was making me feel a little like sluggish and, you know, miserable, because that's really what my passion is. You know, it's more than writing emails. It's it's actually sharing what I know with people. And so yeah, things are falling back into place now.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Sweet. Okay. So what should we start with? What do you think? What's alive? What's have you seen in the news? Anything in the health field?
Well, I actually saw something crazy on Facebook earlier.
Hmm.
And I actually like, anytime I have free time, I scroll medical sites, I check my emails, I check, you know, and I subscribe to so many different places. But I actually got a warning both in Facebook and in email that there's this weird thing happening with fruit, and people need to be careful if they're eating a lot of fresh produce, especially soft fruits and berries like strawberries. But people have been putting needles, like kids, I don't know who's doing it, but people have been putting needles in strawberries, little shards of glass, those kinds of things into produce. And like, honestly, hundreds of thousands of people apparently have had medical issues, or, you know, because of this. So anybody who eats a lot of fruit or who is high plant based, be careful. We live in a crazy world, you know, so definitely always be very careful with the produce that you eat. Maybe like cut up your strawberries to make sure that there's nothing in them. But yeah, I did want to heed that warning. That was something I
Yeah.
heard this morning that was kind of crazy.
Wow. What do you think about? Are you doing plant-based right now? Why don't we talk about plant-based versus diet? Let's talk about that. Are
Totally.
you full vegan right now? What are you doing?
Okay, so
Yeah.
my diet is flexible right now. And
Yeah.
it's funny that you bring that up, because I actually messaged you maybe like a month and a half back or something, and I was like, I just had a
Yeah,
steak
yeah, yeah.
for
I
the
remember
first
that.
time in years.
Yeah.
So my diet is actually radically different than it has been in the last little while. And I'm playing around and I'm doing an experiment. And the reason why I'm doing it is because I actually did a 2-week trip to the UK, and I was doing a personal experiment and kind of working out there, and I was studying bacteria and the effect that it has on the human body. And it was at an FMT clinic where they do like fecal transplants, and they, you know, recolonize people's guts. And so I was kind of interviewing people and collecting information, and you know, seeing how it works there. And I learned a lot about the human microbiome. And so it started making me question my own diet and the things that I was doing. So I'm still 99.9% vegan, but I'm experimenting with eating a different style of diet. So I was doing the high carb diet for a while, and that was doing okay for me, but I was feeling that I just didn't feel as grounded or balanced as I wanted to feel.
Hmm.
I felt just like with all the traveling I do, I was so heavily reliant on carbohydrates. So now I'm eating a much higher fat diet, like seriously higher fat diet. I don't really eat a lot of animal products. I save it for if I'm at a restaurant, or like I'm going out for dinner later, I may or may not have something that has animal products in it.
Hmm.
I'm not really like military about it,
Yeah.
but I'm predominantly plant based. I don't buy meat or eggs or dairy for the house. I personally mostly eat things like green juices, tons of guacamole, avocado, wraps. The wraps I make out of actually psyllium, husk fiber, coconut flour, and water, and it makes like the most delicious pita. I'm going to share that recipe soon, but
You
I
make it
can't even tell
yourself.
you. I make
Yeah.
everything myself usually, but I make these pitas myself actually, so I use that as a wrap. I love tahini salads. I do tons of tahini salads. Um,
What's the rest?
so
Real
that's
in like 20 seconds. What's the recipe? Psyllium husk, coconut flour, and you cook
I
it
will
in the
tell you
oven.
exactly what it is.
Okay.
So you put a quarter teaspoon of Celtic sea salt, quarter teaspoon of pure non-aluminum baking soda, half a cup of organic coconut flour, 2 tablespoons of psyllium husk, not the powder, you want the husk.
Yeah.
And then you put 1 cup of warm, like heated water mixed in. You like make a batter out of it, you knead it with your hands, then you let it sit for 10 minutes. You cut it into 4 pieces and you roll it out into pitas, and then you just fry it in a pan.
Wow.
And I can't even tell you, it is so delicious. It can be a dessert, it can be a crepe. It's fluffy. It's almost like a pancake. Anyway, it's really good,
Yeah.
but it's basically all fiber, so it works for anyone's diet.
Right, right. I do something similar with cassava and coconut flour, but there's no psyllium husk. So the psyllium husk, I imagine, just makes it just like gelatinous and or just thick, I guess.
Yeah,
Just
it
fluffy.
makes it
Yeah.
fluffy. It makes
Yeah.
it almost like I'm not gonna like say it's the exact same consistency, but it's almost like the naan bread in Indian
Yeah.
cuisine.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
almost like that, how it's like fluffy and it tastes almost like an omelet. It's really weird, but it
Wow.
honestly tastes like it could be an omelet.
I'm gonna make that.
But yeah, it's really good.
So
So
okay,
so
so
yeah, that's
yeah.
basically it. I eat a lot of like steamed veggies. I eat a ton of nut and seed butters. Like I know that's probably not the best thing in the world. I love peanut butter. I'll probably go through a jar of peanut butter like every 3 days. Just
Really?
yeah, like
Wow.
celery and bell peppers and peanut butter and just like peanut butter with my finger.
It's
But yeah,
interesting.
so
Some different like this is going to open up a whole can of worms here, but um, two-part question here. Okay, so what do you think about people who are militaristic with the vegan diet or with any one diet in particular? And also, what do you think about when people say that this one diet is for everyone, right? Because for instance, you're eating peanut butter, right? I could never eat peanut butter. It gives me gas, it makes me break out, it makes me feel miserable. And that's because it has tons of lectins, right? And
yeah.
my particular blood type or my makeup is sensitive to lectins for whatever reason. My immune system is sensitive to lectins, and who knows why exactly. But I can't eat peanut butter. You're telling me, and I have full confidence in you that you can eat peanut butter and it's good for you, right? Or it's
Oh
okay
yeah,
for you.
I have peanut butter bread right now.
Yeah. So what do you like? Do you just think? I mean, my opinion is just that everyone is different. There's just no way we could say one food is bad for everyone or good for everyone. Obviously, there are things like refined bullshit that's bad for everyone, but
Well, like man-made chemicals are
yeah,
not really good for anybody. But
yeah.
I love that question, and I've never been military about diet when it comes to health. I used to have an eating disorder, so I was military about my diet because I had issues. But that's a whole other story for another day. But I'm never. I don't believe, and I tried. I literally tried to study, to research, to interview, to experiment. I tried to find the perfect diet for humans. I have literally searched every corner of the globe and spoken to every health person you could possibly imagine that I can get in touch with. And I have not been able to find the perfect diet for humans. And working with thousands of people, I've never seen one diet work for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So and honestly, the most perfect diet that I've been able to find that, tons and tons of holistic people all preach, high carb vegan diet, whatever, lower fat, that did not work very well for me in a lot of ways. And I did it long term and I was consistent. And so it depends what you're looking for. There are different levels of health and there's different things you're trying to achieve. So a plant-based diet helped me overcome disease, but comparing it to my lifestyle before, I feel that any balanced, healthy, organic, whole food diet would have probably done the same
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's hard to know exactly what it is, but I don't believe that there's one diet for everybody. I think depending where you live, your culture, your microbiome, how badly it's damaged, that determines what foods you can tolerate. And for some people, a high plant-based diet, they don't have the bacteria that break down oxalates, salicylates, histamines, lectins. So unfortunately, like you end up having all of these um, anti-nutrients or irritants in the plant foods that people can't break down. Then they go full carnivore, and that's not healthy either.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
it's all about getting a wide scope of nutrients. So I think that it's about finding what works for you as a person, and I think it's also about balance and finding what you can maintain long term, because you can try to do a vegetable, a cucumber only diet if cucumber doesn't irritate you, but you'll end up calorically and energetically and nutritionally deficient very quickly. So
Mm.
it's, finding what's sustainable. And instead of focusing on what's the best food to eat, instead focus on how can I put as many different types of good bacteria back into my body so that I can start being able to be one of those people with a stomach of steel that can eat anything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what makes the difference in quality of life, in your health, in what you can get away with in terms of your diet, in how flexible you can be. It breaks down to bacteria. So it's not as much about the food as people really think, so long as you're eating whole foods, natural foods.
Mm. You mentioned something about the carnivore diet, and I've heard I saw like Jordan Peterson's daughter was doing it. I think Jordan Peterson was doing it. And there's people all around the world who are doing this diet, right? In honesty, I haven't even done enough research on it to know like why it's supposed to be good because I'm discounting it before even researching it because it just sounds so out of balance to me,
Yeah.
and I don't like on a vibrational level, I know that I could never do it, so I'm not even going to bother understanding it. But can you enlighten me? Like, why is this supposed to be even remotely good for the body? Because I just don't get it. Yeah, and
Sure.
I eat
Yeah.
meat, right? Like I eat meat. I'm not a fan of vegan diet for my health issues, but I'm like, okay, this carnivore thing is fucking ridiculous, you know?
Yeah, it's extreme, right? And it's like anything is extreme. I know
Yeah.
people, there are people that have drank nothing but juice for a year. Like there are extreme people
Hmm.
out there. And so I'm happy to break that down. I actually did a video exactly about that because same thing. I was wondering why everybody was having issues. And I actually did a consultation for somebody who's on YouTube right now who switched from a vegan diet after 10 years to a carnivore diet. And I helped give him some information that might help him to maximize his carnivore diet because he really wasn't thriving on vegan. And you know, at the end of the day, if you're turning to carnivore, it's extreme because so I'll tell you why it works. In other words, not that it works for health, but why people see an elimination of their symptoms. So there's a few different reasons. The first is that when you have a bad gut, like what we just talked about, a lot of chemicals and natural plant compounds in plant-based vegan foods are going to irritate you.
Okay.
Carbohydrates, fibers, lectins, anti-nutrients of all kinds. These things are going to irritate the body and the system of a person. Like a person who's fructose intolerant can't eat fruit. A person who can't break down FODMAPs is going to struggle with most starches. So basically bacteria are what break down plant foods and the cellulose fiber and release the nutrients and help us convert those antioxidants like beta carotene to usable forms of vitamin A. So a vegan, let's say, who has really bad skin, like me, frig, for like so many years, my skin was just hideous. And I was eating this super healthy diet, or so I thought. And what was happening was my body, I just didn't have the bacteria to break down any of the food I was eating. I was creating so much inflammation. And so that's one of the main reasons is that when you remove fiber, you remove all sources of physical irritation or physically inducing inflammation, if that makes sense. Secondly, a person on a carnivore diet that does well on it, that didn't thrive on vegan, usually has the bacteria that break down acid. They usually have more parasites, more candida. Like a person who's really bloated doesn't feel good on a plant-based diet is because they're missing all those good bacteria. If
Mm.
you're missing all those good bacteria, it means you have too much of the bad because something else overgrew in that place. And usually you have the right microbes that like dead and dying materials or, proteins or fats or like you can rely a little bit more heavily on your stomach acid then because there's no fiber that's getting fermented by the bacteria, and your liver will produce more bile because it's usually a higher fat diet. So between bile and stomach acid, usually that'll be sufficient in helping to break down animal products, which, on their own don't have a lot of fiber. So it kind of like bypasses the need for a lot of bacteria to begin with. It's a very, very limited diet. So it doesn't tax your microbiome or demand much from the gut in that sense. Another reason is that it's an elimination diet. When a person goes on a carnivore diet, they literally are eating only usually one or two kinds of meat, maybe one or two kinds of fat. Like you're not eating a ton of different things, not even usually oil. They'll often eat like lamb and like lamb fat or like beef burgers and maybe some chicken. Like they're not eating a super diverse diet. Very
Mhm.
few carnivores right now in this day and age are eating like 30 different kinds of meat and animal products. And people are on a budget and animal foods are expensive, and so you're automatically cutting out gluten, sugar, processed food,
Mm.
oils, crappy
Lectins.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're like essentially removing a lot of what might have been irritating you. So that's part of the reason as well. And I really think that it's a combination of those things, that people are basically removing what's irritating them. And they're doing something that's really basic. It's also a mono diet. You're eating only one type
Mhm.
of thing. Like if I put somebody on a rice only diet, so long as they weren't allergic specifically to rice, probably after a month of eating a rice only diet, even if they didn't feel good for the first week, their body will start adapting. So most people don't feel good on the carnivore diet right away. They feel crappy, for the first week or 2 weeks. And then by a month in, they start to feel better. Their body's adapting to that more ketosis state of being, so
Mm.
long as the fat is high enough. There's a last component, which is why they thrive. And this is the fact that, we talked about how bacteria convert plant nutrients into usable forms, like into organic forms that we can absorb. So most people today on most vegan diets, and honestly, most animal-based diets as well, because of the poor quality food they're eating and the crappy soils and our bad gut, we're deficient in the fat soluble nutrients. We're deficient in omega 3s, vitamins A and D, vitamins E, big time. Unless you're eating a lot of nut and seeds, you are not getting enough vitamin D, vitamin K as well. So if you're eating a high carb, low fat diet, for instance, or even a higher fat plant based diet, but you're mostly rich in omega 6s like me with all my tahini, it's easy to become deficient in omegas. So a lot of vegans can bypass the issues they have with their gut by including something like a really good quality cod liver oil supplement. So they're getting their A, D, and omegas all in one shot. Just taking a teaspoon of that a day, but like a really good one, like Rosita's extra virgin cod liver oil is really like the only one
What
I
do you
would
think about
recommend.
ratfish, the ratfish liver oil, the skate liver oil?
Yeah, I've heard
Yeah.
of it. I have not tried it, and I haven't done enough research to know if it's like amazing or not.
It has the A, D, the K, the
Yeah.
omega 6, the omega 3. Oh no, omega 3 is only actually. Um,
Yeah. You just
but
want to
yeah,
be, my thing with and I'm not, honestly, I won't take 99% of cod liver oils. Like literally, I'm not affiliated in any way to this company, but Rosita, that brand of cod liver oil is organic, cold pressed, wild, filtered for heavy metals, and like completely unrefined, unheated, and it really stinks. Like it's even better than Green Pastures fermented cod liver oil.
mm,
It's completely pure and like non-rancid as far as those type of oils can be. So I would have to do research into specific,
yeah.
skate oil products and stuff like that. But you do want to be careful with fish oil because like it's like any oil, right? It can go rancid. But yeah, basically you want to get those fat soluble nutrients in. That's usually enough to make people feel a lot better. There's another thing too. Neither plant or animal foods today are rich in magnesium. And what I notice with everybody that I've ever worked with, and me myself, what made the biggest difference for all of my health more than anything else in the entire world, other than fermented food and fixing bacteria, was the introduction of magnesium on a very high and very consistent basis.
Hmm.
In other words, you want to take high doses for very long periods of time. You want it to be your number one supplement, transdermal, oral. You want to take it like it's your job. And that usually reduces a lot of inflammation in the human body, and combined with fat soluble nutrients will usually help any vegan to thrive. So, it depends on your gut status, of course, but those are the main reasons, is that people turn to carnivore not realizing they're super mag deficient and deficient in fat soluble nutrients, and their gut can't break down their vegan diet, so they feel better on meat.
Mm.
And they are getting some of those fat soluble nutrients, at least if they're eating liver. And, so that's kind of why people are saying they do better that way.
But
But
it doesn't seem like it's addressing any of the root of illness. It seems like it's just avoiding triggers and masking, not masking symptoms, but reducing symptoms. I don't even think transformational health is about reducing symptoms or removing symptoms. I don't even believe that. I believe we're supposed to completely transform the whole paradigm of symptoms. So when I tune into that meat diet, it just seems like people feel a little better, but they don't actually look alive or vibrant. Or so, like, anyone can say, I don't have depression anymore, right? But what does that
yeah,
mean, right? Where is that
does it
person
mean
in
you're
their
actually
journey?
happy?
Exactly. And does it mean that they're on their edge of transformation, right? If someone nixes their depression from their life, are they actually living a fruitful, vibrant life, or do they just not have depression anymore? So I don't even believe in the whole like removing of symptom thing. I think it's health is so much deeper than that. Does that make sense?
Oh,
Yeah.
totally. And I think so. There's a few sides to it. I definitely understand, especially when you have severe gut stuff. Like my gut used to be so bad that I would literally eat like an organic muffin that I made myself, or like an apple, and I would get so bloated, so much inflammation. I'd get
Hmm.
20 pimples from that one piece of food, and I would look like I was pregnant, even though at that time I was underweight. And I never wanted to go out. I was so embarrassed. I didn't want anyone to touch me. I felt like so swollen and bloated, and it was just terrible.
Hmm.
And I know that, and when you feel like that all the time, you feel really depressed, because when you have that much inflammation, you like don't make neurotransmitters. And I just desperately wanted to feel better. So I understand from the theory and concept of people that are sick, that desperation to want
Yeah.
to do anything to manage symptoms. But at the same time, I definitely struggle with this in my career, because I was a person who, though I wanted to eliminate my symptoms, I was kind of hardcore when it came to my healing. Like I was willing to feel 100 times shittier than I felt in that moment, as long as I could get out the other side. Like I would have done anything, and I did do crazy things, and I suffered through, like, I never took any meds or any symptom management tools. I just literally suffered through the entire thing. And I'm not saying that was the right way to do it, but it literally was part of the reason why I was healthy. I didn't do anything that was worse for me in order to control my symptoms. And what I see with people, and kind of the carnivore diet sort of embodies that in a way, is that they kind of put their well-being and their health after, and after their symptoms. In other words, people need to understand that getting sick is an uncomfortable process, and toxifying your body over a lifetime is a damaging process to your body. And when that stuff comes back out, it doesn't feel or look pretty. So yes, it's nice to sort of manage symptoms, but if you're going to do the carnivore diet for a month while you focus on hardcore fermented food, start fixing your gut. But then again, without fiber, you're not really feeding those bacteria, right?
Yeah.
But like, just start the process of, tons and tons of that. Maybe consider an FMT, do something to fix your underlying gut issue. Maybe do a lot of like liver detoxification or something that can help clean out and sanitize current infections in your gut. Focus on re-inoculating good bacteria, and then slowly work your way back into a healthy, balanced diet. Like that makes more sense than just, I'm only going to eat meat and all that, but I'm open because I have seen videos of people, like there's a guy, Frank Tufano, I think his name is, he's completely carnivore. And he used to have horrible acne and not feel good and be depressed. And he actually looks really good. Like his skin is better than mine, and his lips are red and rosy, and he shows what he eats, and he eats tons of meat and all kinds of animal fat. And, he helped his sister who has like a brain condition get better on that diet. So I'm kind of at a loss, as I work with people, to be able to say what is or isn't a good diet for somebody, because he's been doing that for like 5 years now, and he says he looks, feels amazing, his blood tests are awesome. So I wouldn't do it. I personally wouldn't be happy eating like deep fried stomach blubber, and like I just, as much as I could enjoy meat every now and then, it's definitely not going to be a staple of my diet, because I like love fiber, and I love salads, and I love vegetables and fruits. And so, for me, it's not the kind of diet that I would ever be willing to try. And it kind of conflicts with what I know about health and the microbiome, and, addressing the root cause and alkalizing your body, and phytonutrients and the antioxidants and plant foods and the protection for your heart. And so, for me, it's not my thing, but it's really hard when you're that person, and you don't know when you've tried everything, and you don't know maybe how to fix your gut, or to decide to go that way, So I think very few people will stay carnivore their whole lives. Like I think a lot of people will end up moving their way back, because it's a process, right? Like you said, it's about transformation and development and growth and experimentation. So
yeah, and I guess speaking to the first thing I said when this conversation started, there is no one answer, right? So I guess these people, it's working for them, I guess I just have to trust that. That it really is helping them. It just sounds crazy to me, but whatever, there are crazier things like fecal transplants.
See, and I'm really into extreme stuff too. Like I'm into extreme fasting, and I'm totally into like fecal transplants, and I just like love studying bacteria. I would do like super weird things, and it really depends on where your comfort lies too. So I actually just did a video called like the ultimate elimination diet, I think, or something, where I basically talk about how the best way for a person to thrive on a diet is actually to make a yes and no food list of what it is that they believe that they will be okay eating. And this concept, this intuition, like you should basically just write down every food you can think of on a piece of paper, and then close your eyes, think of that food, each one, and then write a yes or a no beside it. In other words, yes, you feel safe eating that food. Yes, your body will respond yes to that, good to that food, or no, it'll irritate you, it'll inflame you. And so that feeling that you have, you might say no to very healthy foods like watermelon and broccoli. Like those are no foods for me, even though they're healthy foods. I just have a stigma with it as having once reacted, or having had an issue with it, or having it given me acne, or right. So it's just writing your safe food list, what emotionally, spiritually resonates with you, will be accepted by your body much more readily than trying to eat foods that someone told you to eat that you feel fearful eating, right? It's about confidence. And so food tests are not that accurate, but like you just said, certain, you don't do a vegan diet because it gives you skin problems. And there's certain foods that if I said, hey, Josh, you should eat this, you'd be like, I can't. That food doesn't jive with me.
Mm-hmm.
You know that. Everybody knows that. No matter how little they know about food or nutrition, they know what their body has and has not reacted to. So we could all put together our optimal food plan and come up with at least 15 super healthy foods that we can thrive on. And that's a great start for anybody, carnivore or otherwise.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful.
And so what about you and your diet? You still, like, how are you doing with that?
Yeah, my diet has evolved. When I first started this health journey, I went through uh, vegetarianism first. I was having tons of beans and cooked vegetables. And then I went to veganism for 8 months. I was a raw vegan for 8 months, living in the mountains and in the Amazon jungle, the mountains of Peru, and in the Amazon in Peru. And raw veganism fucked me up. I think I may have.
Were you doing high fruit?
Very little fruit because sugar inflamed me like crazy. And
yeah,
it's interesting, moving back to what you were saying before, we have to decipher when a symptom is a symptom that is not good for us and when something is actually signifying that the body is going through some sort of adjustment phase, right? Like there are tons of supplements out there, right? Supplements and foods, and we have different reactions to them, right? So for instance, when I used to take liposomal DIM, right? Liposomal DIM clears plastics and estrogens from the body. And when I took liposomal DIM, I had a terrible reaction, terrible. And one would say, oh, wow, conventional thought would be like, okay, this is not good for him, right? But actually, liposomal DIM became one of my best allies for boosting my testosterone because I knew it was exactly what I needed. Because of how bad my reaction was, that means that I have estrogens and plastics in my body. So similarly with food, it's hard for us to know when something bloats us and it's like, okay, stay away from that food. Or if it's like, oh, this is changing something inside of me that's for the benefit, right? So I encourage everyone to learn that calibration and learn that dance because it's an art form, And
I agree.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with that. And I think as a general, it's hard because everybody's symptoms are different. I'm actually currently in the process of writing an ebook on how to cure acne and the causes of that and skin problems. But there's always multiple causes of a symptom, right? So there are certain symptoms that are a normal reaction to detoxification. For example, the way to know if you're reacting in a detox way is to always start really slow with whatever you're consuming. Whether you're taking, clays to detox, or whether you're doing natural chelation agents, or you're doing, green juices, or you start fermented food. Start with like an eighth of a teaspoon of fermented food. And if you have a little bit of a reaction, then it might be detox. But if you go and you have a cup of it, your body might react really strongly because it's too aggressive. So start really slow. That way you can really decipher if your body's actually reacting to that or you just put way too much in at once. But I would say that typical symptoms that mean that you're intolerant to a food or that you should really consider not eating that food anymore because it's actually harming you is if you get a really bad headache or any kind of headache every time you eat a certain food. Like if you're eating a high carbohydrate diet and every time you eat fruit you get a headache, you probably have blood sugar swings that are causing hyperglycemia or even hypoglycemia from too much yeast in the blood. And so you're not necessarily getting a detox headache just because you ate rice or fruit, or if every time you eat like a starch you get a headache or certain food, or if you get extreme bloating, like you eat something and you have severe distension and bloating, the kind that hurts to breathe, or it feels like food never leaves your stomach, or you're burping it up forever, or if you get really serious diarrhea. Like I used to eat watermelon, and I'm not kidding. I would eat the watermelon. I would get shooting liver pains, to the point where I was keeled over for 15 minutes in a cold sweat and I couldn't even talk to anyone. And then within an hour's time, I would have crapped out in extreme diarrhea all of the watermelon that I just ate. Within 1 hour, it was out of my body. That is not normal digestion. That is not detox. That is your body saying no. Mm-hmm. So, depending on the state of your body, eating something and then getting a little bit of bloating 6 hours later, that's not a food intolerance. That's probably you just don't have the right bacteria for that food. But getting diarrhea, feeling really nauseous, getting any kind of organ pain from the food you got, getting a headache, or breaking out in hives, a rash, angioedema, like a swollen lip,
Hmm.
any getting heart palpitation or racing heart after you eat or consume something, you are intolerant to whatever it is that you ate. That's not a detox reaction necessarily. Those are
Mm.
things to kind of look out for. You could also try eating that food again in a smaller amount and see if you get the same symptom. So if you get that symptom every time you eat that food, the problem's the food. It's not detox.
Mm.
So those might be tips that help a little bit, but it is hard to differentiate, you know. And I guess the key is to find the foods that you don't overly react to, and then to slowly introduce new ones so that you can sort of play around from there.
Mm. I want to give you a little boost on your acne book. I have some miracle acne cures. Maybe you already know about these, but
Oh, why don't you contribute them and we can do
yeah,
like I can put a section that's yours in the book
I would
if you
love
want
that. I would love that.
or something. Yeah,
Yeah,
that'd be super cool.
totally down for that. So I used to have cystic, terrible, terrible cystic acne. Like it affected my life. You know, I thought about it all the time. Anyone who's had acne knows that like
Uh,
having sick,
it consumes
it
you.
consumes you. I'm talking to someone, I'm just thinking about my pimples. I'm walking
You're thinking
somewhere, I'm
about
just
they're
thinking,
thinking about your
yeah,
pimples, and every time you talk to someone, you're just jealous of their good skin, or you notice their pimples because you're only thinking about yours too.
yeah,
It's terrible.
yeah. So that was like for like 4 or 5 years of my life, probably more actually. And now my skin is fucking awesome, you know, like
Yeah,
a lot of people compliment me on it. But um, what happened for me is I learned three core things. The first thing I learned is that acne is the heart crying, and this is like in Chinese medicine. Acne is explained as it's the overflow when we don't feel the pain in our heart. It overflows with facial acne. So I can say for certain that my acne was always at its worst in phases of my life where I was repressing emotions, not feeling things, in pain and not accepting it or denying it or repressing it. And my heart hurt. My heart hurt for most of my childhood, and I think
yeah.
most people's heart hurts. I mean, the world is fucking traumatizing, you know? And
It
we're
is.
like,
It so is
yeah,
for everybody. I find it terrible. I don't want to say that because it's awful, but it's so true.
it is like if people knew, this is what I always believed. If people knew how sensitive they actually were. See, when I lived in the Amazon, I finally was able to learn how sensitive I actually am, right? All of the stimuli and things and someone's voice and someone's comment that I would never like think affected me, I realized that all of these things affect me. All of this energy around me affects me, the way someone talks to me. And granted, there's an art form to like not letting your sensitivity take over and knowing when it's someone else's shit to like not accept. But
Yeah.
I learned that through the jungle. I learned like, wow, I am so sensitive. I feel everything, right? And for all of those years, not having any connection to that sensitivity, my only option was to repress. My only option was to deny or repress, right? So I believe
Yes.
that when I say the world is traumatizing, I only say that because if we actually knew how much everything affected us on some level, then we would know how traumatizing the world can be. It's also a beautiful place, but like if we actually felt every single thing that there is to feel in the human experience, every word, even me talking to you right now, affects you. It affects the listener. It affects everyone, you know? And so anyway, getting in touch with that sensitivity and then feeling what it is in our heart, that was a miracle for me for my acne. And then moving to like physical stuff and Turos gel. And Turos gel is a silica based binder that a lot of doctors are using for heavy metal, aluminum toxicity. It's so safe that they're using it in pregnant women and children. And it's an
Wow.
organic silica, very, very awesome stuff.
It's like it's different than diatomaceous earth.
It
Send me
is.
that. I'll look into that. I actually have
Yeah.
never heard of that. That's
Yeah.
super cool.
It's different than DE. DE works very well for acne too. But then, of course, colon cleansing. I just found that cleaning the colon, and it's so simple, like colonics, coffee enemas, saltwater flushes, eviscerates acne. It eviscerates
Liver
liver.
stuff
Yeah.
for me
Hmm.
made a big
Hmm.
difference. And yeah, definitely. I think that yeah, it's really cool. Actually, you should put the links in that below in the
Sure,
video,
I will.
um, so
What,
people can look
what
into that stuff too. I definitely will.
what did you do for your liver? Did you just do the standard olive oil, Epsom salts? Did you do anything else? Did you do a lot of herbs?
So I did I did a bunch of liver flushes. I did a combination of things. So
Hmm.
I don't know if my liver is completely up to snuff. I had like cirrhotic fatty liver. I had been an alcoholic for a long time. My liver was so bad I couldn't even touch it. Like somebody would like lean on my abdomen. I was like, oh, I'm gonna throw up. Like my liver was so inflamed. The doctors were like, my liver enzymes I think were like at 400 or something at one point. They're like supposed to, or 100. I forget. They were like really really high though, a lot
Hmm.
higher than they should be. Maybe 175. They're supposed to be like 40 or under.
400 is like death, I think. 400 is like,
Yeah, it was crazy. Like I had like crazy liver enzymes for a long time. So I did a combination of several liver flushes, but that never seemed to be all that was required. What I found worked actually better than that. And liver flushes are great; they really are, and it helped. But one of the main things that liver flushes does is it forces out bile, and bile sanitizes infection in the gut. I think my acne was predominantly caused by severe fungal overgrowth all over my body. Like I had a ton of parasites when I did cleansing, and I just had so much fungus in the blood, in the brain, everywhere. Like I had virus issues, Epstein-Barr, and so for me, it was just really pathogenic, and I had so much
mm,
toxicity, and I was just fermenting and putrefying all my food.
yep,
So I had
yep.
like no stomach acid. It was a combination of that, but in terms of the liver, bitter food. Nothing cleans your liver like doing ginger, turmeric, dandelion, arugula, celery, lemon juice. If I didn't already see lemon, juice that, freeze it in ice cube trays, especially the dandelion. Put lots of
The,
nasty
the
dandelion in
dandelion
there.
greens or the root?
The entire
The
greens.
entire greens. That's what I have. Everything that you just said, I have in my fridge right now.
Ah,
Yeah.
it's so yeah. Freeze that,
Yeah.
juice a bunch of it. Freeze like 2 or 3 ice cube trays, preferably the ones that have a cover on it, but it doesn't
Uh-huh.
matter. And then put 1 or 2 cubes in an inch of water to thaw before every meal. It'll stimulate bile. It'll get your salivary glands flowing. It'll get your stomach to produce acid. It'll help address the root of why you're having liver digestive, gut colon problems to begin with. But I also did a ton of colonics enemas. The thing that I find with colonics and enemas is it's really important to replenish good bacteria
Yes.
after, because all that does, like I used to find I would do tons of colonics, I'd feel better for a short time, but then my problems would come back because I still, whatever candida was flushed out would eventually overgrow again because the antagonist bacteria was missing. So I found that doing like coconut milk kefir for like a
Hmm.
long time, and other fermented foods, like I make my own pickles, and and buying gut shot, and just fermenting a lot of different things and eating lots of different fibers to feed that good bacteria. That ended up helping a lot, and then
Mm.
um, for me, I'm still sensitive. I think I eat a lot of foods that might not fully jive with my body because I'm just kind of like over the trying to find the perfect diet thing, and I just like want to eat stuff that I want to eat, even though I know it's suboptimal. So I do once in a while still get breakouts, like especially around my menstrual time, and I'll get like 2, 3 pimples that are annoying.
That might
But
that might never
certainly
go
it's,
away though. I think that's like part of being human, you know?
yeah, I was
A
gonna
woman.
say, but like
Yeah.
I definitely I'm not one of those people that has like perfect skin all the time. Like I
Hmm.
do still have that tendency. But then again, I kind of always did. So it is what it is.
Hmm.
But yeah. So
Yeah. For replenishing the gut, one thing that I used to do when I was doing a lot of colonics is I would actually do an enema afterwards with some bone broth and probiotics and like flaxseed oil. And you do an enema with that and hold it, right? And Megaspore Biotic, for the folks listening, Megaspore Biotic is incredible probiotic. Klinghardt is using that for all the retroviruses now. And it's very, very powerful. I had detox reactions from that alone. And then
wow.
the coconut kefir, I like goat's milk kefir too. And I
Yeah,
used to get my
goat's milk
kefir
kefir is great.
grains from kefirlady.com. Do you know who she is?
I've heard of her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's
Okay.
badass. And her kefir grains are great. And I'm sure you have tons of fermented foods that you make. And then there was one other thing. Oh, yeah, Bravo yogurt and Bravo yogurt suppositories. Or you can make
Ah,
your own suppositories with probiotics. Excellent, excellent
yeah.
ways of replenishing. But yes, the enemas and the colonics, they do drain us and they change our electrolyte balance. So I think replenishing flora and replenishing minerals super crucial for that to be when doing intense colonic therapies.
Oh,
Yeah.
totally. I love that. I know I was definitely into like wheatgrass implants and wheatgrass with probiotic implants. And I
Hmm.
used to make coconut oil probiotic suppositories, both vaginally and rectally. I mean,
Mm.
I had all kinds of fun at
Yeah.
home, but yeah, it was just it was definitely, it was like a fun experiment, and those things, they really do make a difference. So
Mhm.
it really is about putting back in that good bacteria, and just, listening to your body too. I find that juicing, doing like a fermented food juice cleanse, even just for a day, that can really help decrease inflammation, help to feed, like, remember all the polyphenols and antioxidants and all the different colors and natural vegetable compounds, they strengthen and they nourish good bacteria. So I find that consuming a good amount of like green juice on a regular basis, like at least 3 liters a week worth of like vegetable based green juice, if you have like sugar issues, and even leaving a little pulp in there, that is so good for your gut.
Mm.
And anybody who, like, I used to really struggle on juice cleanses because I had such severe gut inflammation that I would drink juice and I would have like diarrhea of that same juice within an hour. It was like the same thing as the watermelon.
Wow.
And so it was hard with like beets and carrots and anything sugary. But I used to be able to do like cucumber, a celery, and all the greens like parsley, cilantro, fennel, a bit of lemon, some ginger, dill, basil, whatever other greens I wanted, a little kale, chard. And actually, if you put enough cucumber and lemon, it actually kind of tastes good. It's not so bad.
Mm.
But that juice used to be really well tolerated, and that's extremely alkalizing, and there's very little fiber. It won't inflame your gut. So, like, shout out to the carnivores or the heavy meat eaters out there. Like, if you can't handle big salads or you don't want to be eating like fart-inducing cruciferous vegetables, no worries. Like, juice some green juice, drink a liter or two of that a day. You're getting 12 to 15 cups of vegetables. And
Mm.
so that's like a really great supplemental tool for people that are really struggling to get nutrition and build their body and detox metals and get stronger and feed their flora with a non-working gut or system for now.
Mm. Speaking about farts, we were talking about farts before the internet crapped out.
Sure. Oh my God, I talk so much about bowel movements and farts. My family just can't anymore.
Okay. Great. Okay, so what I was saying before we got rudely interrupted was that I used to fart like crazy back before I started my health journey. I ate whatever the fuck I wanted, burritos, pizza, cheeseburgers, drank beer, fart all day, and that was just part of life, you know? And it was like, all right, if I have a date, like I need to take some, what did I used to take? Gas X or something like before a date because that's the only time that it matters for me not to fart, you know? Any other time I was like, all right, I'm just gonna fart, whatever. It's not a problem, you know? Um, and now, I honestly, I don't count my farts. I really don't know, but I don't fart a lot. Like it's rare because my digestion is strong as shit. I'm solid. I eat slow. What do you think about farts? Should we even be farting? Is that a
So
sign that we're doing something
it's
wrong?
yeah, so it's funny that you say that. And I mean, this might be TMI coming from a girl, but I used to fart like crazy too. Oh my God, it was horrible. I literally was a gas furnace. My sister and she used to come over and I'd be like, my stomach hurts so bad. It was just like, fart, fart, fart. She was like, Britt, if we could run the power supply of the world on your gas, we'd be multimillionaires. It was a never ending furnace. I couldn't believe like how much came out of me in terms of bowel movements and also how much gas was produced. Like I was a gas making machine. And that was because I was eating too much sugar that my body couldn't digest. I was fermenting, and I was also in those days, drinking a lot of alcohol and just like had all kinds of gut problems. But I believe that farting is normal, but it's the result of gas being produced when there's fermentation of vegetables and fruit happening. When you have the right bacteria, they don't produce the same kind of gas as when you have sulfur loving bacteria or meat digesting bacteria that are trying to break down vegetables, or when you have a lot of yeast and fungus or parasites that create inflammation, irritation, gas pockets, impacted material. So gas often happens from poor digestion. It happens from like improper digestion. That's what's really happening when we have a lot of gas. I find that on a vegan diet, more people have gas than when they eat a higher meat-based diet because you just have so much plant food that's being fermented. But the higher carb you go, the more gas you tend to have until your gut bacteria adapts. And things like beans and all that. Also, our ways of preparing food are partly to blame. In other words, like our ancient ancestors, when they talk about people eating legumes and making bone broths, and they were like slow boiling these things. They were soaking their grains and
Mm-hmm.
legumes overnight. They were
Mm-hmm.
fermenting. Any bread that people ate was like the flour was ground in like stone, and then it was mixed with water and a little bit of salt, and it was left for 4 days to ferment on your counter. Then it was kneaded to like increase oxygen. Then it was baked. all the bacteria for 4 days were like digesting everything. So by the time you came for you to digest it, it was like pre-digested.
Hmm.
Our foods today are so hard to break down. There's pesticides and chemicals on them. We don't soak or sprout anything. So there's all of the anti-nutrients still accessible and available for our body to try to break down. And our stomach acid as a populace sucks
Hmm.
because we eat crappy food, we improperly food combined. There's antibiotics in everything, including what we get vaccinated with. Um, I mean, we're getting vaccines like pumped into our body in on every level. So we don't have a strong gut, but a little bit of gas is normal. But like if you're a farting machine after your meals, then like technically gas is usually normal several hours, like between 3 and 5 hours after you eat a plant meal, and usually between like 5+ hours after you eat animal products. And the reason is because that's when that food has gotten to your colon. So if you're
Hmm.
a healthy person with a good gut, you shouldn't have like 20 backed up meals rotting in your colon. You know, you should, like, when you wake up in the morning, you eat your breakfast. If you start getting gas right away, it's because you already have inflammation and bloating, and yesterday's food didn't digest well. But if you eat that food in 5, 6, 7, 8 hours, you have a little gas. It's because that's when the bacteria in your colon are fermenting that meal. So that is a little bit more normal. So how
Hmm.
quickly your gas occurs. And talking about gas on the other end, what I used to have almost even more than farting
Burping.
was I used to burp. Like I would eat something or just drink water and I would burp. It felt like I was burping from my belly button. Like I was like a trucker. I was like, rah, rah. Like you have no idea. It was so embarrassing. I would try to do like I was always burping. I'd burp 100 times by the time I like finished brushing my teeth in the morning. And I just, my stomach was like a bubble of infectious gas. I don't know.
We would have made an amazing couple 5 years ago.
God, we're attractive.
Yeah.
Such a catch. I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
anybody want to take me out Saturday night?
Well, we would both be
But
farting.
but yeah, it was like it was a problem. See, now I never have that. Like I can't even remember the last time I burped. And I often eat quickly. I drink a ton of water. I'm kind of always like I said, I eat so many like heavy, dense foods, like tons of nut butters, and I just don't have gas like I used to. So it's about finding a diet that works for you. Like you said, chewing properly and fixing that good bacteria will create much less of that kind of like, gas furnace going on.
Mm. Your camera is there's a shitload of your laptop showing. Do you wanna flip it?
Oh yeah.
If there's any way you can set it up so that it's more of
Like
you.
that?
Yes, perfect. Yes.
Okay, cool.
We want to see you, not your keyboard. And then
I
can you
like
come a
my
little
keyboard,
closer?
thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I'm ordering you
Hold
around
on.
here. I just
No,
wanted
no,
to
it's
do this.
okay. It's just because I have like a kind of funny setup, but I'll move in this way.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah, yeah. And if I move, because like right now I'm all
Oh,
up in the
I
camera
know.
and you're like back here.
Okay,
Oh,
okay.
check
I
out
was
that, by
hiding.
the way.
I was trying to give you a front row thing, but is that
Oh, that's
better?
much better. Much better. Okay.
Okay, cool.
Question popped up while you were talking.
Perfect.
What is your opinion? What is your definition of health, right? Because everybody has a different view of what health is and what they want to aspire for in their life, right? For instance, some people would look at a triathlete and say, wow, that dude's super healthy, right? I look at that and I say, wow, that's out of balance, you know? I mean, I'm sure some
His
people.
stress hormones are through the roof.
Yeah. Yeah, like some people are looking to live as long as possible, and other people are looking to have the most intense transformational 40, 50, 60 years and do as much as they can on the planet. And right, so what is your individual aspirations for health, your goals? What is your, some people want to be as much energy as possible. Other people want to be able to eat a pizza every once in a while. That to them, that's
Sure.
health, right? So other people want to be resilient to stress, right? To them, if they can handle stress, that means they're healthy. What is your ideal? What is your top notch health?
Such a good question.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love that question.
yeah.
So, it's funny. I was actually having a conversation with somebody yesterday, and they asked me what was the single thing I liked most of myself, and it actually ties into this. So, my history was that from very young, probably like maybe the age of like 5 or 6, I started getting chronically sick with stuff, and I was always suffering. So for me, health doesn't mean I'm going to live till I'm 100 years old. It doesn't mean I'm never going to have a pimple. It doesn't mean that I can eat, that I care to eat like 49 pizzas. What it means for me and what I'm so grateful for, like health for me is physically not suffering. In other words, having a body that works, at least in a way that I'm not in pain anytime, unless I happen to get a cold, or but that I feel really good, that my body is strong and resilient, that I don't catch infections easily, and that I feel emotionally happy. My whole life I was physically sick, and I was always feeling like I was watching everybody else live their life. I was on my ass in my room on this like breathing thing while everybody else was enjoying Christmas, and I just heard them laughing in the other room. Or I had my bladder disease in my mid 20s, and my whole family would be having wine, and I couldn't have any because I was just like in the other room with like in the bathroom peeing all the time. And or I had IBS, I'd watch everyone eating the food I wanted to eat, and I couldn't. It was like I felt like I could never live. Like I want to be able to use my body. Health for me means using my body without being aware of its functions. It means I want to be able to travel where I want. I want to be able to indulge in foods if I want to. I want to be able to be intimate with people without having pains or discomforts or fears or bloating, or I want to feel good. I want to wake up in the morning and be excited for that day. It basically, to me, being sick represented weakness. It represented my weakness in the sense of I wasn't resilient. I didn't trust that I could travel across the globe. I didn't trust that I could fall in love. I didn't trust that I could, start a career for myself. I didn't trust anything because my body was so unstable. And so for me, health means whatever time I'm here on the planet, I want to be aligned emotionally, physically, and spiritually with what makes sense for me. And I just want to be happy and feel good. I want to be able to share that with people. I don't want to be suffering. That's what it means for me.
Mm. And then what about when that pain comes up, right? Because pain's inevitable, right? When it comes up, how how would you handle it?
Well, I get pain like on a regular basis in one way or another, right? Whether it's
emotional,
like physical pain from, everybody does, right? Like emotional pain, physical pain from injuries or different things, but I'm actually pretty resilient when it comes to pain. Like I think that what being sick and recovering has made me realize is that no pain I ever get now compares to the agony of never being able to breathe, or the agony of having ulcers all over your bladder and feeling like you're being seared, burned open from the inside. Like to me, or having a gut that was so raw that literally it feels like it's going to implode on you. Like I feel that if I get a little headache here and there, if I have a discomfort, or if I go through heartache, or if I don't know, I kind of find that there's something to learn and to grow, and it sort of triggers me creatively. In a way, I'm really okay with pain. What I see health as emotionally is like is being positive and expecting the best, but being okay with the worst.
Yeah.
In other words, like it's being resilient, not just physically, right? It's having trust that you can survive whatever comes your way, whether it's, your thumb having a terrible splinter that keeps you like in surgery, or if it's that you are going through an emotional difficulty, like losing someone you love. Life is not easy. It's not happy all the time. It's not about everything going perfectly, but it's about what matters to you. And I guess I just want to feel good enough to be able to express and share what I feel I want to share with people. I don't want my body to impair who I am from showing. That's, what health is, I guess,
Beautiful.
Like in one sentence for me.
Beautiful. Hell yeah. I love that.
What about you? What's health to you? No farting.
Yeah. 0 farts. Less than 5 farts per year.
That's a stiff goal.
Yeah.
Even I don't get that.
Yeah, I think that question I always ask myself, which is why I didn't even know that I consciously asked myself that until you were talking, and I was like, that was just a question that just appeared for me. And I think it constantly changes for me. When I first started this journey, I thought that I wanted to live as long as possible, and I wanted to live until like that would be the ultimate metric of health, like living to 110 years old. And I think that it's to some degree it's true, right? Like living a long life is definitely an indicator of like how resilient and strong and balanced someone is. But I have this intensity inside that I feel like, because the Chinese medicine rule, right? There's like they have rules to longevity. It's like avoid extreme emotions of all kinds, live in the middle, right? Nothing, not too hot, not too cold. Everything is this master live in the middle, right? And I'm like, I was trying to do that path for a while, and I was like, wait a minute, I'm not this. I'm a lunatic. Like I love doing crazy shit and I love being intense and I love owning my intensity and bringing my intensity to the world and not hiding it or shutting it down. And similarly, shit, I mean, I think you're the same way, you know? That's probably why we get along
Yeah.
so well. So so I thought I wanted to live a super long life and I still want to live as long of a life as possible, but I realized that I want to I feel like I have a mission here on this planet and that I'm going to live until this mission is done, right? I don't know how
Yeah.
long that's going to be. And the mission for me is to transform my own health, my own life, and transform as many lives as possible in the process. So for me, health means being in the center while the storm is happening around us, right? Like the more centered and the more work I do on myself and the more energy that I can hold in this vessel, the more amount of people that I can coach and like all these new opportunities coming my way. And it's like we almost we learn how to contain a level of voltage, right? Through this work, through detox, through spiritual work, through we have a level of voltage and it keeps growing, right? It keeps fucking growing. Like right now, you can hold way more voltage than 2 years ago. 2 years ago, maybe what you do today and how much energy is coming your way on the internet would have fucking had made you have a panic attack. Maybe. I mean, you
For
know,
sure. 4 years ago. Two
yeah,
years ago, I
4 years.
would have been okay, but not as good as today. You're right.
Yeah. Okay. So like we constantly, I am constantly evolving my level of voltage that I'm able to carry in this vessel. So I feel like my health for me is just to continually expand that. But that doesn't mean for me at least, I've not been at a point where I am pain free. My body feels very good. I feel very good on average, but I still have this a wound that I'm working on, this universal life wound, you know, that why am I alive? Why am I here? What's the fucking point of it all? Why does my heart hurt? You know, no one's breaking my heart right now. Why does it hurt? You know, so for me, it's like getting more and more solid and getting more and more peaceful, of course, but also being able to totally handle anything that comes without it throwing me off my center and going into a fuss about it or going into a charge about it. Um, and uh, and and sex, you know, like sex is such a I feel sex is such an important indicator of someone's health, you know. Like I used to whatever, we're getting real fucking personal on this episode, but whatever.
Dive
All
in.
right. So like, you know, when I was a bro in college, you know, back when you know when you were farting a lot and I was drinking a lot. Um,
My high days.
yeah, I would you know sex was not like a healing thing, not a sacred thing. It was just this I was fucking, you know, I was just fucking. And it was for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you know. And now I'm learning that like the sex and the sex energy, it makes up such a big part of our life, such a big part of our energy body. And to truly be in tune with that and allow and learn how to have it flow with oneself or with a partner and let it heal the body. I feel like what I'm learning is just that becoming a master in the sexual arts is such an important part of like becoming a master in health. You know, there's so much fruit there. There's so much richness in sex, and it's shunned upon, and we're all weirded out by it because of commercials and upbringing and people afraid to talk about it. But anyway, I'm just so for me, it encompasses all of that, my sex and how you know my connection and most importantly for me is not avoiding triggers because I'll always get triggered for the rest of my life, but not allowing triggers to completely take me off my center. I think that's it. There's more there, but that's enough for now. Yeah.
Yeah, that I mean, I agree. So on to touch on a few points, I agreed
Yeah.
with a lot of what you said, and I think the longevity thing mattered for me as well. But I guess I got used to, I mean, I know myself and I know my personality. Like you, I'm extreme. I
Mhm.
smoked I did so many things that are probably going to shorten my life before I even became into the health field. And now I probably do so many things that shorten my life, like overwork, put everybody else first, don't take care of myself the way that I should, don't sleep enough, travel too much, spend way too much time in planes with radiation. And like I live on my laptop. There's so many things I do that are suboptimal for health that I don't expect. And I also think the stress of working in a health space with people and helping people and caring so
Yes.
much about people,
Yes.
that definitely is taxing on your energetic reserves,
Hmm.
big time. There's several factors involved in there. Plus, there's the fact that I had a lifetime of chronic disease, so I don't know how resilient the body can be from that. I am missing an appendix. Like, I'm okay with the fact that I might not live forever. I also consider something, and this I rarely talk about, and I won't get too much into it, but I am a holistic practitioner, and as a holistic practitioner, the more I don't want to use the word popular, but the more followers I tend to have, the more people that I actually reach out to, the more effect I'm having on people, the more I'm getting threats, attacks, being told to shut down, fines, threats of fines. And the more I get like hate mail and really scary kind of messages, and so it's kind of, with all the death of all these holistic practitioners, like I'm kind of in this weird conundrum where I realize that if I'm going to follow my purpose and help people see the truth of what's really going on and help them save themselves in a world that's kind of falling apart, that might result in my early death for reasons that I don't foresee. And I'm not willing to give up my mission of what I'm trying to do, because I don't want, 100 years from now, for like me to be alive, but the world to have fallen apart, for there to be so many sick new generations and children because people didn't have the knowledge that I think, like, I wish I knew 10 years before I discovered it what I know now. My God, I'd be missing half my organs. I'd be so sick now if I didn't learn this info. Like, I feel compelled to share it. So
Hmm.
so there's that aspect. In terms of sex and all of that, I fully agree that it is a huge part of humanity. And I think with the amount of dysfunction happening in how we emotionally react to sex, in other words, like way too much pornography, the way that sex is kind of put out there, and all of the repression and the fact that we don't feel open to talk about it, and just the hypersexualization of just so many different cultures, combined with our disconnect with ourselves and our bodies, I think we're missing a fundamental benefit of life. In other words, people are having sex all the time, but they're not actually appreciating how much that can really do for your body in terms of health, in terms of energy, in terms of connection with other people. Exercise is great, but nothing releases more love hormones, pheromones, happy hormones, neurotransmitters than really good sex with somebody. Like, you feel like you're high on another planet. I don't know if it's the same for men. All I know is that for a
Yeah,
woman, it's like
it is.
it's another thing,
Yeah.
and there's such a natural energy flow that happens when you're in a comfortable situation with somebody, having sex with someone that you really, really care about. Not just someone like for physical reasons or whatever, like someone that you truly love, that you really care about. It's like you can feel the exchange of energy from one person to the other. You feel yourself releasing energy, and that in itself feels like a gift.
Hmm.
So it's definitely something people need to get connected with their bodies, and they need to remember why they get intimate with people, I think, because really what we're doing is just we're cheating ourselves, right, with the way that we're approaching sex and intimacy and relationships and all that stuff as well. So I'm also seeing such a high level of actual physical and emotional dysfunction when it comes to men. And
Yep.
you know, um, I just see where men specifically are really struggling with this. I think women, unless you have like severe physical dysfunction, you kind of can usually perform, if that makes sense. Like, it's just, whereas men, there's a higher emotional component, and there's so much stress on men to be a certain way with their bodies and be a certain size and perform a certain way. And what we forget is that you're sharing your body with someone not so that you could be like this great master at everything. It's so that you can like really connect with that person, so you can be a part of that person for a period of time. And I actually read something crazy. I don't remember if I brought it up actually on the last time we were talking or not, but they were basically saying that for women, they did show that anytime you have intercourse with somebody, you are most likely on some level exchanging sperm cells, even if you use a condom, just because of the area, like it is possible. And so they do say that if you come in contact with a male's sperm cells, that sperm actually can penetrate into your body, past your vaginal wall, into your bloodstream, and migrate to your brain, where it actually starts planting its DNA in your body. They say that women are the carriers of the optimal DNA of every partner they've ever had. So we actually get the benefit of deriving from others like stronger resilience, if that makes sense. So I mean, I found that really interesting, which that might make us want to be really choosy about who
Yeah,
we decide to get intimate with, because that
yeah,
person might very well be a part of us forever. But I think that, yeah, I think it's just about approaching it differently and realizing that it's not about needing to be a certain way. It's really about just connection. And I think, I don't know if that pain in your heart that you're talking about, like we all have something like that. Like I
yeah,
feel that there's something I need to figure out too, and I don't know what it feels like. There's something missing, or there's something that I feel in turmoil about, and I can't
yeah.
necessarily pinpoint what it is, even though I sort of skirt around it. I know it's hard to know. That might just be the human disposition. Like I don't really know, but I think for me, I feel a lot more emotional pain in my life, not just like physically or anything else, when it comes to sex, I mean, but when I'm not connecting with people, when I'm not connecting, like it all comes down to connecting. So sex, a lot of people, they don't realize they'll use sex as a way to feel that kind of acceptance, that connection, but if it's so I think that we need to get back to a place where we're connecting on a lot of different levels with people, so that we're not making poor sexual choices or poor emotional choices for ourselves,
Mm.
you know.
Wow, I have fucking 50 different directions I can go off in right now. Um, so okay, so I agree. I think choosing sex. I agree with everything that you just said, but choosing sexual partners is so important, and not only for like the physical, sperm reasons that you mentioned, but even energetic, right? Like I have strong views on this subject, so maybe it'll be very different than other people's. But I used to fuck around, and now I realize that it's such a deep, sacred act and such an exchange of energies that I feel like we shouldn't really sleep with someone unless they have attributes that we really admire, right? Like unless that person should have something that you really want, right? Or you really enjoy being around, or like so they feed you in a deep way, right? Because I think it's almost like eating fast food. I equate it to fast food, right? To sleep with someone with no connection and nothing deeper than sex. I believe it's like we're eating a cheeseburger from McDonald's, and in the moment it feels good, and then afterwards you have all these repercussions, digestive issues, you're farting, you're bloated. So you're basically taking all of their energy, and you're taking on their energy. And if they're not working on themselves and they're not treating themselves the way we treat ourselves, or the amount of effort that we put into our self care, then it's like, wow, what kind of energy are they circulating in their body? What do they have living on them? What kind of vibration is that at? So anyway,
And you don't really know. You have no way of
yeah,
knowing if you just met them. So they
right.
could be totally awesome and at a high vibration, but you wouldn't really know that or know how to tap into it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I like that,
Mm.
and I definitely think that that's something that people need to consider as well. There's also the fact that people are really toxic today. So the more you sleep around, the more you're exposing yourself also to physical toxins and other things. But I think that when it comes down to choosing partners that you have, I think if we tap into our intuition, that's sort of natural in a sense. I'm not talking about drunk in a bar and trying to distract ourselves, but I know for me, I am most physically, sexually attracted to people that I do admire. That doesn't mean they have to be like amazingly perfect people or that they can't have
Right.
flaws, but usually I'm attracted to people that seem to possess qualities that I want to emulate after, or that I would love to learn from. Or I usually look at them, and I mean, this is going to sound weird to say as a woman, like not in a position of power, because I don't mean money or actual power, but I mean they have something about them that seems like strong or secure, or that will help me grow in some way or another.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
It isn't just a physical thing.
Yep.
It's usually that person embodies something that you don't feel that you have, that they like can contribute something that adds strength to you or to your life or to your growth. So I mean, I think at the end of the day, past even our sexual preferences, I think that applies in life. If you want to be successful, surround yourself with successful people. If you want to have actual growth, be around positive people. Don't waste your time like, complaining. Talk about all the things you're going to do instead to overcome those problems. And I think that if we spend time realizing who we are, and all you have to do to do that is actually look at everyone around you, write down all the personality traits that you like in other people. In other words, that person's like great at expressing themselves. That person's really kind hearted. That person is like really giving. And then you ask yourself what you possess in terms of qualities. And if you don't have those qualities, try to have them. In other words, try to become a person that you can feel really good about, that other people can find admire, like other people can find admirable, or other people can be inspired by. Because the more inspiring you are to other people, and the more you feel proud of who you are, the more you'll naturally attract other people that are either where you are or better than you to help you on your growth journey. And we all help and I mean better than you, I mean maybe more like evolved in ways that you want to grow.
Yeah.
So I think it's all just about not putting up with things that make us feel bad, and following what makes us feel good, and not just physically but emotionally, because one night stands doesn't make anyone really feel good emotionally long term. It doesn't. Not men, not women. That doesn't, like you said, it's McDonald's. It doesn't feel good later. So follow what feels good later. Follow and do things today that will make you feel good after. Eat the food that you'll feel good about later. Or if you eat something bad, make sure that you still choose to feel good about it later. So it's really just, life is not more complicated than feeling good, doing what feels right. And when something doesn't feel good, don't continue to do it. It's something to learn from.
Beautiful. Beautiful. How are you as far as time? I have a couple other things I could bring up. Do you want to go for an hour and a half? That's 12 more minutes.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely have 12 minutes. I have something to do at 4, but that still gives me time. So.
Okay. All right. We'll go 5, 10, 12 more minutes, something like that. Okay.
Perfect.
So one thing I wanted to bring up is what you were talking about before is the threats and all that stuff, and more emails, more energy coming your way, the good and the bad. And that's happening to me now. I'm getting a lot of emails of hate mail, people trying to rip me apart. And I mean, it doesn't get to my core, but
I know.
and then like people harassing me, like totally harassing me. I have to block people off Instagram, and it's crazy. Like, it's just crazy what people do, and then so that's that. I'm definitely feeling that, and it's only a fraction of what you're probably dealing with. But the other thing I realized is this art to being a coach, right? We're a coach, and we're helping people who are chronically ill, and that takes a lot of energy and a lot of sort of sight and vision, right? You have to be able to hold your center and not get caught in someone else's bullshit, right? Not get caught in someone else's drama or victimhood. And I'm just curious if your thoughts, or if you've put any awareness onto this subject. I see people reaching out to me all the time in a victim state. And it's almost like I either don't even want to work with them, or I just want to tell them right away that attitude itself is probably the biggest part of the problem. They want to make it about the heavy metals. They want to make it about the estrogen or the toxins. And in reality, the space that they're coming from about it all is the actual faulty that's what's faulty, right? Have you seen this?
Yes.
And what
yes.
what's your vision on it? Yeah.
Yeah, so this topic, I'm going to be really raw and really honest on this topic.
Yeah, me too.
And,
I'll go
and
after
I
though.
just usually, and I am with everything, but I mean, I'm really not going to hold back how I truly feel on this. And it's funny because I wanted to actually address this anyways, probably in a video on my channel. But the first thing to say is about the hate mail. Okay, so I used to be destroyed when I would read my hate mail. I would go under my videos for the first maybe 50 or so videos that I had, and people would be like, "You're ugly, you're fat, you're stupid, get off the thing, you don't know what you're talking about, show us some peer-reviewed, science-based, blah, blah, blah," whatever. And I used to get upset. I'd be like, "Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. Maybe I'm ugly, maybe I'm fat. Why am I making these videos? No one likes me, no one cares." And then I remember what my self-esteem used to be really bad. Okay. Now I'm a confident person, and I've worked really hard to become a person I can feel proud of. But I, 8 years ago, didn't feel the same way about me as I do now. And I was a different person then. So I now feel good about myself. But I had people around me that helped a lot. I had family and things. My mother used to say, "Britt, you're looking at the 3 bad comments and there's 100 good ones. That says what's happening about you," right? So there are always going to be haters. And the truth is, the more popular you get, the more haters you will have. But the way I see it is, it no longer bothers me either. Every now and then I'll get a sting from something someone says, because I'm human, and I'm just like, wow, that was harsh.
Yeah.
You don't even know me, especially when people say things like, "I'm going to rape you if I see you, I'm going to beat you, I will kill you. You deserve to have cancer. Like, people tell me all kinds of stuff like that. They're like, you're disgusting. You're stealing people's money, even though my videos are all free.
Yeah.
And I never even advertise giving consults, but you know what I mean? So, but I know the truth. The truth is, like, if I think I'm ugly and someone calls me ugly, it stings. But if I feel that I'm attractive, whether I am or I'm not, but I feel good about myself, I'm like, I look good today. That person obviously has a problem. They don't like my look, but I know I look good. Then it doesn't bother me. So I know that what I'm doing is pure. I know that what I'm doing is to help people. I know that I have 300 plus videos on my channel that are free information where no one ever needs to contact me for anything. I know that I'm trying, my purpose is not to work with people and make money. It's not to make everybody happy. It's to put information out there that I fucking wish people had put for me, that I wish I didn't have to work so hard to discover, and that I wish I didn't have to suffer so much before I discovered it, out there for people for free, so that it doesn't matter if you're in the Midwest and you're a single mother and you can't afford a consult with a practitioner, or if you're a multi-billionaire, you still don't have to spend a dime. It's there for people. I want people to know these things so that they can make better choices for their children, so that their children don't live a life that I lived. I want us to stop polluting the world. I want us to stop, planting GMOs and killing all the bees. Like, I don't want the world to be over in 10 years. Like, I don't even want to have children, not because I don't want to have children, but because what kind of world is this to leave children in? Is my body even healthy enough to house a child? Like, I just, life is hard today, and I just want to see a change in the world. So I know that my purpose is bigger than whether some idiot likes me or not. And it's just, not that everybody looking is an idiot, but I just mean I'm talking trolls and stuff, right? In terms of being threatened for, my life and fines, and at the end of the day, we're not as free as we appear to be. And the truth is that the more good you do, the more attacked you get. I know, and I mean, this is very controversial what I'm going to say, but I know so many medical practitioners that give people chemotherapy, antibiotics. My own doctors made me so sick. Like, I got sick from medical intervention, not from just my lifestyle choices. So, and I know tons of people that had worse lifestyle choices than me, but they didn't have as much medical intervention. And so they weren't, their bodies didn't become as weak. And those people are giving you medications that if you take double the dose could kill you or poison you or send you to poison control center. And I'm recommending spinach and camu powder and getting more sleep. And I'm being threatened that I'm endangering people's lives by sharing this information. I think we live in a crazy world, and it breaks my heart every single day. And when I really think about it, it honestly makes me sick. And when I read those hate messages, what I think to myself is not, I'm sad for me. I think I'm sad for that person. I'm sad for the world. I'm sad for that person who is going to make those choices for their kid and harm their child potentially, who isn't realizing that the truth is presented to them and that their suffering could end. I have reached out to people that have posted on Facebook that have interstitial cystitis, when I used to have the bladder disease. And a woman is like, oh, I finally decided I'm going to have my bladder removed. I'm going to, get the surgery. I've been trying everything for 10 years. I wrote her and I was like, don't do it. I was like, listen, do what you want, but don't get your bladder removed. She's only like 32 or something, or 35. I was like, you can heal this. Like, I have 300 free videos on how you can heal this. Like, and I gave her a whole list of things that she could do. And she deleted my message, never responded, and then wrote back to the person just underneath it saying, oh, thank you so much for your support. I'm going in for the surgery tomorrow. So excited to be finally done with this. And I thought to myself, when somebody needs a key to open a door to save their life, and you give them the key and they throw it away and they thank the person who cuts their head off, I think to myself, what the fuck is going on? But the truth is that that's the world we live in, and that is where my heartbreak is. It's not some dude thinking I'm fat or somebody else saying like that I'm an idiot and I don't know what I'm talking about. I get thousands of emails a month from people saying your videos changed my life. Like, I know I work with a lot of people. Nobody's ever gotten sicker from working with me, like, ever. Yeah. And if you're a person who's worked with me and gotten sicker, please write me, because I never heard about it. So there's that. And then there was another point I wanted to bring up too, but I kind of went on a tangent there. You had mentioned something else after that as well.
The victimhood maybe was.
Oh yeah. Okay. So yeah, definitely, exactly that. So in terms of victim mentality, so I'm finding that my struggle with the person that I am is that I'm about 5 years now working in consults with people, roughly. I started working with them when I wasn't even fully healed, and I still am not able to emotionally disconnect to the point where I don't feel unbelievably emotionally drained after every Skype. So I see people be renewed and be happy, and I know I changed their life, and they're so excited about their protocol. And I analyzed everything they said, and I studied their case, and I came up with a plan that I know is going to help them get better. If anything can help them get better, it's that. The only thing I can't control is their emotions. And I see them feel uplifted, but I feel the energy come out of me. And then I struggle. Like, my battle as the person I am is that I get emotionally and deeply invested in everybody that I work with and that I talk to. And I get tons of panicky victim-like emails. Yeah. Everybody, when people are sick, they have no energy. They're devitalized. So as soon as they feel an energy source, they plug in and they want to suck, and they don't realize that's what they're doing. But I definitely feel that, and this is so crazy for me to say this because I do love the work that I'm doing, but I'm moving away from doing one-on-one sessions with people because I feel that it's taking me away from my actual purpose, which is to share. Like, I only have so much energetic resource every day, and the time it takes me to tell each individual person what's specifically best for them, in that time I could have shared hundreds of thousands of people information that would save so many people with that same condition. So I do still work with people, but I'm moving towards more written ways of working with people where I can focus all my energy less on convincing them to fight for themselves and why they should, and more on giving them the solution of what they can actually physically and tangibly do. So I do a lot of online written programs where I can study their case, and we talk virtually via email, so it's not as energetically demanding for me, and I can focus all the energy I have instead on finding their solution. And I find that works a lot better for me. But I have made a dedicated pact to myself starting literally this month, because this whole year I just put all my clients first and my work first, and my health really kind of spiraled out for a while there, especially with all the attack I was getting. I got really scared and I felt really threatened, and I just didn't agree with the attack because it just didn't, I was doing good, and I know I'm doing good, and it felt so wrong that this was happening, but that itself was victim, which is why my health went bad. But I have made the pact to myself now going forward that, like, what I really want is to continue to share information with lots and lots of people. So that's why I'm focusing more on writing lots of ebooks, and continuing to make content, because I was like really struggling to find time to make videos on my channel. And so I'm excited about those kind of projects, and I'm slowly phasing away from working one-on-one with people because I do find that it's difficult. Like, I don't want to finish a talk with someone and cry, but
yeah. Go ahead. Yeah. No, sorry, keep going.
No, that was it really. It was just, it's harder that, for me, everybody keeps telling me, you need to just not care, and you need to not take it on. You need to just put a wall up. But that's so hard when you're listening to every word and you've been there. Like, I've been there. When people describe their symptoms, it's me. Like, I've had so many things that, like, 90% of the time I've experienced what they're experiencing in one way or another. So it brings it back for me. And so, yeah, I'm still trying to find a way where I can share my passion for health, but I want to direct it towards inspiring people to heal rather than, talking about disease itself, which in itself is even kind of low vibration, Instead, it's like letting people know how much they can do. And so that the people that want to do it, then they can step up and do it. Like, that's what, that's where I'm kind of gearing towards.
Beautiful. I believe my prediction is that in a few years, you'll come around and you'll do the one-on-ones again. That's my prediction. Everything in phases, right? I think because they're rewarding, even though they're draining as fuck. They're also rewarding.
They're so rewarding. And when people, it's so true. But I find that even working with people via written programs, like, you'd be surprised how emotionally interactive you become and everything as well too. I find that really rewarding as well, But I definitely need to find the balance. It's hard because as a health practitioner, as any job you're going to do, where you're especially in the caretaking field in any way, people forget when you're their caretaker in one way or another that you're also a human who deals with you're tired some days, and you're burnt out, and you have emotional problems, or you're having relationship problems, or you're having work problems, or you have financial stresses, or a family member is sick. Like, I don't share a lot about what's going on in my life, but I usually have a lot of shit going on, So that's why it's like it's when I feel that maybe I'll be able to revert back to doing more Skypes and things like with more energy when my own life doesn't have so much going on in it. You know, I'm sort of at the beginning cusps of my career as well. So
Yeah,
it's hard managing life and work and your emotions and your issues and still find time to like grow and develop yourself.
totally.
And I mean, I want to keep researching because if I'm so busy working, I don't have time to like learn all the latest health information. And I want to study and research and test and I'd like to find a quick fix for healing if ever there is one. Knock
Totally.
on wood.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay. Anything else? We could probably go for fucking 5 hours, but
Oh, I know we could talk
yeah,
forever. But I mean, I guess all I really want to say is that, to touch back on the victim mentality thing
yeah,
is that as a person who was a really big victim at first when I was sick, I really was like that sob story. I was so miserable about my situation. And people don't realize that when you are negative and you're complaining about your problems or you feel disempowered or you're upset about your sickness and all of that and you're basically sucking the energy of your practitioner, it's not just your practitioner that you're harming, it's you, because that energy, you're tapping into that practitioner. And I mean, I see this all the time. You're sucking their energy, so for an hour then you feel better, the next day all your fear comes back because you didn't fix the root. And so I'll get off the phone with someone who's like so happy and so excited and so ready for the protocol. And then literally a day, 2 days, 3 days later, they write me back a panicky message as if we never had the
yeah,
talk.
yeah,
And I think, and this happens a lot, and I think to myself, if I have any message to give people, if there's anything that comes across, it's that you are not a victim. And if you see yourself as cursed, or this has been done to you, or you're, poor body, or you're never going to be healthy, then you will never be. Because the truth is that being healthy is in big part an attitude. It's an ability to, if you survive disease, you can survive the getting well process. Like, I'm sorry, but the getting healthy process is safe. It's safe, it's effective. The harm was when you were damaging yourself, not when you're getting healthy. So the more we focus on the negative, the more we don't see all of the good things that are happening. And like attracts like. So if you really want to get healthy, it starts first in you believing that you're healthy now. It starts first in you not feeding that which has caused your disease, not in food, not in thoughts, not in people around you. But it's a decision. And it's not that you need to fix and change overnight. You can't be a different person just because you decide you want to. You're not going to feel good all of a sudden after being sick for 10 years. But it's more about wanting to be the person that rises above. Like, we all get inspired. I mean, I get inspired by people that have it, in my view, a lot worse than me, in the sense that, they live in countries where they don't have any freedoms and they've maybe been like genitally mutilated, or people that are born without arms or legs, or people that end up paralyzed, or people that have severe physical or mental impediments or impairments. I look at that and I think to myself, like, I can walk, I can talk, I can share my thoughts. Like, there are so many people that really don't have everything that some of us do, and they rise above. Like, I saw a lecture of a guy with no arms and no legs telling women not to have eating disorders, and he was literally saying, like, I have no arms and no legs, like, no one wants to date me, and I would cut off my left arm to date all of you girls, fat and pimply and whatever you think you are. And I was thinking to myself, this guy tours the world telling other people to feel good about themselves. Like, I have friggin' goosebumps. And so a person might have cancer and they might have something else, but like, look at what you do have. You could have your health back. Some people, they really have a harder struggle and they do amazing things. There was a girl that passed away. She had, she went the conventional route anyways. It wasn't like a holistic story, but she had cystic fibrosis. She was like a beautiful girl in her 20s. Her whole life she was on machines and getting treatments and surgeries and one thing after another. And she was like so happy. She was touring the world, inspiring people to follow their dreams. And
Are
it
you
just, I
talking
thought to
about
myself,
John Wineland's daughter? Is that do you know her name?
yeah, I
Yeah,
think it is
yeah.
her. Yeah, like the pretty girl
She
that
just
like
passed
is so
away. Like,
dynamic.
she passed away like 3 months ago or so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly,
Hmm.
her.
Yeah.
But she's like so beautiful, so smart, so heartwarming, so dynamic. And I'm thinking to myself, like, this girl literally is on death's door and doesn't know any of the information required to actually heal herself. So she will, she's not doing well. But she takes all of her energy and all of her time to inspire everyone else. And I thought to myself, like, I look at her and I think how beautiful she is, not just physically, but her soul, for like trying to help everyone else. If you're sick, don't try to be physically healthy. Try to be someone you admire emotionally. Be that strong person, rise above, handle your shit. Like, be a person that will inspire others. Don't you, like, nobody wants to go through a breakup. Act like a crazy psycho, stalk their ex-girlfriend or ex-boyfriend, beg them to take them back for 12 years, get turned down the entire time. We've all done things like this, or maybe only me, but and then at the end, when you eventually have to get over that person anyways because they moved on, you're humiliated, you're embarrassed, you were that freaking psycho weirdo. Nobody wants to feel like that. You also don't want to be the person that got sick, ruined everyone's life, sucked everyone dry, lamented till everyone cut you out, and then, whined about your condition and stayed sick forever. You want to be the person that people talk about after you die as being like, that guy had an amputated leg and he was, severely damaged, but that guy had a smile on his face every day. He imparted so much love onto everyone. He always had the best sense of humor and he made the best waffles. Like, you want to be that guy, So that's the thing, is like sickness, you don't feel good when you're sick and you're a bad person and you're, a miserable person. You feel better when you're sick and you're happy, and it helps you get healthy so much faster. So yeah, I don't know if that helps at all.
Fuck
but
yeah. Beautiful. Aho. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so MontrealHealthyGirl.com, Montreal Healthy Girl on YouTube. What else? Twitter?
I'm not on Twitter right now. I have Facebook. So
Facebook.
I have Montreal Healthy Girl Facebook or Brittany Auerbach. But the best way to get in contact with me or, my team, I do have help with my emails because they get like astronomical.
Yeah.
But that's my, on my website, on my contact form on my website is the best way to get in contact with me. And yeah, I do scroll through. So for my comments on my videos, I do scroll through them, but because I have so many, I usually dedicate a few hours the day that I post it to scrolling down and responding as much as I can. After that, I just sort of read through them and get ideas. If there's video ideas that people have, I put them on my list. But yeah, so if you want a response, the best time to like comment would be right away when you watch the video or soon after it's been posted. If you want like an answer to a question or something, because otherwise it just gets too tedious with so many videos to go back in time. But, oh, sorry, I knocked it down. Amen. No.
Cool. And I am Josh Mason of the Detox Dudes. I'm the Detox Dudes on YouTube. And any final words here? I have 7% left on my laptop, so I probably have another 5 minutes before my computer.
Well, I did want to say that if you haven't yet shared that video on your channel, you should, because Josh just sent me this mind-blowing video. I'm not going to give you too many details. I don't know if you shared it or not. So
it's on Arthur's channel. It's on Arthur's channel. Yeah, I don't have it on my channel. Maybe he'll send it to me at one point. But
you should have him send it to you. It's so good. Link it in the description below if you want to see more about Josh's story. It was such a beautiful video. I really, really liked it. So definitely share that. And I guess all I want to say is that to people that are out there and suffering, it's not a permanent thing. So if you want it to be permanent, then believe that it is. But the body is ever changing. Everything changes. The sun rises every day, a fresh start. Every night you go to bed, new cells are born every day in your body. New birds fly down every season. New fruits are growing on the trees. You're not the only thing on planet Earth that's stagnating and isn't able to change or grow. So, embrace the ability to change and grow and just take it one day at a time. And I really think that it's about a mindset. So if you're struggling right now, anybody out there, don't feel bad about it. This isn't a permanent thing. And just get ready because change is coming for you.
Hell yeah. Everyone go subscribe to Montreal Healthy Girl.
And subscribe to Josh Mason. Well, I guess they already are if they're watching, but
yeah. Awesome.
Well, it was really great chatting with you again. I'm sorry about your back. I'm glad you're feeling better, though.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, folks, let me shut the recording here.
Bye, everybody.